Teresa Giudice thought she had already survived every emotional storm life could throw at her, but nothing compared to the moment she watched her daughter Gia step into a world designed to break even the strongest competitors. This wasn't Housewives drama or a Bravo feud or a family argument that could be solved with an apology. This was physical, brutal, unforgiving. And as Gia fought her way to becoming one of only 2 people to complete Season 4 of Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, the world saw strength, but the cameras didn't show the emotional battlefield happening behind the scenes. Before we go deeper into this powerful story, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next is intense, surprising, and absolutely unforgettable. The truth is, Teresa wasn't supposed to leave the show. She had trained. She had pushed herself. She had walked into that course determined to prove something to herself and to her daughter. But when she learned about the milling challenge, everything changed. Watching Gia get punched was something she knew she couldn't handle. Teresa admitted she would have jumped in without thinking, thrown herself into the fight, ruined the entire structure of the show, and possibly even gotten herself hurt. She didn't want Gia to see her lose control, and she didn't want to watch her daughter take a hit while she stood back helplessly. And so, in one of the most painful decisions of her life, she walked away. Leaving wasn't strength. It wasn't weakness. It was sacrifice, a kind only a mother understands. Teresa cried in the airport, trying to hide the shaking in her shoulders. She cried when she got home, and Luis had to ask her what was wrong because she couldn't even speak. She kept replaying the moment she left, wondering if she made the right choice, wondering if she should have stayed, wondering if Gia would think she abandoned her. But deep down, Teresa knew her daughter. She knew Gia had fire, discipline, drive, and a quiet determination that had been building inside her for years. And she was right. The moment Teresa left, Gia stepped into her own power. She pushed harder. She carried herself with a strength that stunned instructors and viewers. The bruises didn't scare her. The exhaustion didn't stop her. She moved with a resilience that only someone who has grown up fighting battles, public or private, could ever understand. When the finale aired, Teresa watched her daughter complete the impossible, not with arrogance, but with discipline and heart. She watched Gia stand there, bruised but glowing, and felt a pride so overwhelming that she had to sit down. On November 21st, Teresa shared an emotional Instagram post that captured everything she felt. She called Gia powerful, resilient, unstoppable. She spoke about her daughter's humor, her focus, and the inner strength she had carried through every challenge. It was more than a dedication. It was a mother witnessing her child transform into the woman she always believed she could be. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Gia Giudice gathered with family for a finale watch party. His mother, Filomena, clutched Gia as if holding on to the past and the present all at once. Joe Gorga, who had been distant from the family for so long, stood proudly beside his niece. A family once split by tension and time suddenly found themselves united by one person, Gia. When Joe posted his tribute online, calling his daughter courageous and disciplined, it wasn't just a proud father celebrating a victory. It was a man looking at his daughter and seeing hope, strength, and a future he wanted to be part of again. What fans didn't realize as they celebrated Gia's win was that this wasn't just a moment of triumph. It was the beginning of something bigger, something unexpected, something that would change the course of this family's story in ways no one saw coming. Just as Gia's victory began echoing across social media and Bravo fan circles, something unexpected started happening, something no one predicted, not even the people closest to the Giudice and Gorga families. For years, the tension between the families had become a storyline of its own, filled with sharp words, cold silences, and emotional distance that seemed impossible to repair. But as Gia's achievements swept through their lives, it acted like a bridge, quietly pulling people together who hadn't stood side by side in far too long. Joe Gorga's presence at the finale celebration wasn't just a casual show of support. It was a signal, a moment of clarity, a reminder that family bonds, no matter how bruised, could still be rebuilt when something, or someone, strong enough appears at the center. And Gia was that someone. She didn't ask for it. She didn't force it. Her resilience simply reminded everyone of the legacy they shared. Watching her push through darkness and exhaustion made old grudges look small, almost childish. Even Teresa admitted privately that seeing Joe and Gia together softened something inside her, something she thought had hardened permanently. For the first time in years, she felt a crack of light in a door she once swore was welded shut. As photos from the BravoCon reunion circulated online, Teresa smiling beside Joe Gorga and Melissa, looking genuinely peaceful, it became clear that Gia's victory had created a moment the family needed more than they ever realized. Teresa later confessed that she felt grateful, relieved, and hopeful all at once. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a full reunion. It was a beginning, a step, a sign that maybe, after everything, they weren't as broken as the world believed. But the real twist came behind closed doors, away from cameras, hashtags, and paparazzi lenses. Because while the world celebrated Gia's strength, Teresa was quietly dealing with something she had fought hard to keep private: the emotional toll of leaving the show. Her decision to quit had cracked open insecurities she hadn't felt in years. She worried she looked weak. She worried she disappointed herself. She worried people would judge her. But then she looked at Gia, standing tall, confident, powerful, and realized that she hadn't failed at all. In fact, her sacrifice had given Gia the space to rise on her own, and that realization changed everything for her. Meanwhile, Joe Giudice felt a shift of his own. Watching his daughter become a national inspiration reminded him of the family legacy he once feared he had lost. His message to Gia wasn't just a proud father's post. It was a confession that her strength had awakened something in him too. For the first time in a long time, he felt hope. Hope for himself. Hope for his family. Hope for a future that wasn't defined by mistakes, but by growth. And then, the moment that surprised everyone happened. Teresa and Joe Giudice privately spoke after the finale. Not about anger, not about the past, not about regret, but about their daughter, the woman she was becoming, and how they could both support her moving forward. The conversation was calm, honest, soft even, a moment fans never expected, but one that Gia's triumph quietly created. No cameras captured it, no headlines revealed it, but it planted a seed that may change everything. What began as a grueling physical competition ended as a powerful emotional reset, not just for Gia, but for the entire family orbiting around her. Her victory wasn't just a milestone. It was a turning point. It healed old wounds. It brought new hope. It reminded everyone that strength doesn't just come from surviving pain. It comes from transforming it. By the time Teresa and Gia walked into BravoCon 2025 side by side, their bond had never been stronger. Teresa's eyes shined not with regret for leaving the show, but with pride for the daughter she watched conquer it. Joe Giudice stood miles away but closer to his daughter than he had been in years. Joe Gorga and Melissa smiled genuinely as they hugged Gia, the bitterness of the past momentarily replaced by admiration. In the end, Gia didn't just win Special Forces. She won something much bigger. She restored unity. She rebuilt broken bridges. She reminded the world and her family that strength isn't always loud and healing doesn't always happen on camera. Sometimes, the biggest victories are the ones that bring people home. And that is the story of how one young woman's courage reshaped an entire family, proving that even in a world full of chaos, conflict, and cameras, a single moment of resilience can change everything.